that really authentic? Maybe. And like, I mean, is it possible to just come and be in the moment, or is it just we've lost that? We're too far along in the game.
Yeah, I think so. And the podcast world's oversaturated. So you have to have just a real strong niche. You have to come at it with a real strong niche, adjacent to whatever the reality TV niche is. Like you just don't make it in today's world as a pretty face who has a recap channel. I mean, I say everything, there's always an exception, but plenty of people that go on the show that become influencers have a harsh reality that what they have to realize is, and we might have talked about this on my episode with you, but what they have to realize is the commodity is the tea that is created from the drama on the show. They are not the commodity. So when they do their tell-all interview and give up all of the tea, then they have nothing left. Versus like you and I, we analyze the show. So we live on throughout the seasons. We're actually in a better space than anyone who's on the show because they may get 500,000 followers, but when that relationship ends, people go, all right, I'm done kind of caring about you, unfollow. So you really have to, I always say the quicker you build your audience, the quicker you lose it. So there was a contestant on the show a couple of years ago named Brendan Moraes. He had 250,000 followers. He was on Paradise, but they caught him on a hot mic discussing with his co-star, the lady he was dating. They caught them talking about follower count, which everyone does, but they kind of used it as an example and aired it. They aired it like, they're far away in a cabana, but they're still on mic. He lost like 200,000 followers that week because everyone's like, oh, you're just here for a follower count. You got to go. So there's like unwritten rules. Everyone knows they're there to build equity in their own brand. And I don't blame people for that. It's like, it's a late stage capitalistic world. If you can make it as an influencer, why wouldn't you want to do that over working for somebody else? It's just harsh reality. Couple people out of every season make it last. The rest go back to their normal life.
And most do. And it's this, no, I totally agree with you. I think we're better off than anyone on the show. And it's the same with Housewives. It's different because as a housewife, look, you want it. You start at 60 grand, then you make 120, and you're 30, you make 320. Eventually you make a shitload of money, but when it's over, then they all have podcasts. And I say that all the time. Like, the commodity isn't you. I'm like, there's one very successful podcast where it's two ex-housewives, two T's. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's like, it works because they are analyzing the shows unfiltered. They trash it sometimes. That works. When you're a housewife and you're just like, well, I've been on the show for 5 years, I'm really popular, and you turn on the mic, you're like, no one wants to hear you with your cooking recipes. I mean, we can go down the list. We had Carolyn Manzo, Teresa Giudice. We've had these like things they've tried to do, women's empowerment. It all fails. Nobody wants to hear that. The brand is Housewives. We love you on the ensemble show where you are edited to be the villain, the hero, whatever it is. Now there's just a microphone. So if you can analyze Housewives or whatever in a smart way that this audience wants to listen to, bravo. But that's really, no pun intended, but that's really hard.
Yeah,
when you turn it on, because a lot of these people I find when they have a podcast or whatever, my big thing with most podcasters or people that do what you and I do is like, I'm so turned off. I can hear in 2 seconds when someone is a kiss ass, a try hard. It's like, ugh, who wants this? I think I didn't try to develop my brand this way, but it really is just like, this is the reality today. I'm not in a good mood, so I'm going to be a little bitchy. It is what it is. And tomorrow everyone might be right. It's just, but I think
that's authentic. And
yeah,
I think, yeah, like you said, podcasting can take a while to build up. And I think what a lot of alumni realize, and by the way, I personally think people love hearing this like meta kind of conversation about the adjacent economy, influencer economy that exists with these shows. But I think podcasting takes a while to build up, and a lot of people, they realize they can make quick money on social media. So podcasting is a blue collar industry. You get the collar daddies that are making $150 million, and you think everyone's doing that, but and by the way, I mean, we're both doing well, but it's like, it's a lot of work. And it's a lot more work than what influencers do. But I always say this, that the thing that makes people good on the internet, whether it's podcasting or influencer, two things: information and entertainment. If you have really a lot of information, you don't have to be that entertaining. And if you're really entertaining, you don't have to have that much information. What we have to do is we provide information and we try to give our entertaining spin. Once these alumni do their tell-all, they're out of information. They've spent that. So like, if I always recommend, if anyone that's an alumni on these shows has a real good story they want to tell, you better be doing it on your own podcast. Cash in on whatever following you can get from that, and then see if they'll ride with you to when you do start talking about your healthcare regimen. A lot of them won't, but like, just gather as much Tinder as you can, and then see where it takes you once the show's over, because they're short-lived. There's a lot of shows. If you want to be like an influencer from Below Deck, good luck. There's like 15 versions of the show. So you got to really bring something.
Well, that's what, like, I mean, and I actually like her, so I'm not trying to cause shade towards her, but like, you talk of Scandal, like Raquel Leviss, like Rachel Leviss from Scandal with Tom, she has a podcast now, and she does talk about certain things that happened during, but I mean, even Teresa Duce, she has a podcast, like she talks about the show, but like, how much could we hear about what happened with you and Tom from 3 years ago? Now it's 3 years, you know what I mean? Eventually, this isn't interesting anymore. And I really do like her, so I'm not picking on her, but her podcast is a lot about that.
Yeah, what do we know about her outside of that? There's really not too much to the public eye because she's so well known for that. But that she's interesting, because I'll read the comments. I love seeing what people have to say, and they go, "Didn't she say she was going to go away? Why is she doing this?" And you go, "Why wouldn't she try to get her money? I mean, everyone else made money off of her story. Why not?" You can hate her all you want. People are going to hate on folks like her, regardless of whether she cashes in or not. So go get your bag. But like you said, I'm sure she sees when she talks about Tom Sandoval that it gets picked up, or at least it would get picked up in all the local gossip rags. And then eventually, people stop caring, because it's like, there's only so many ways you can tell that story. But with that said, it's only one season past where like all the craziness happened. And I think it's fair for her to continue to share her points, but don't be surprised if people just say, "All right, well, we're done. We got the info from Raquel." Now, what someone like her has to do, and this was actually, I can relate it to Chris Harrison from The Bachelor. Chris Harrison gets fired. That's when my channel took off. It was an unbelievable story. It was, my channel took off and was making crazy money just because we were getting millions and millions of views talking about this, because no one thought he could get fired. And he took a settlement for like $8 million, which, was
Oh,
good.
really? I thought it was like 25 million.
We thought 75. It was all this crazy money. It was really like 8 million. And then when you go, taxes, lawyers and everything, he probably walked away with under, probably 3 or 4.
Right, which is fine, but that's a lot different. That's not like enough to live forever.
Not when
you
he
live
could
in
have
LA.
not when he could have possibly worked 10 more years,
Right.
or longer doing the show. But either way, he starts a podcast, and I'm sure it's doing fine, but he had the money and the bandwidth to make it Joe Rogan level, 3-camera setup, build it out, fly in your guests, make it the best thing. And he didn't do that. He made it like Zoom style. Bravo does something I'm so shocked The Bachelor doesn't do. They have Watch What Happens Live. That is amazing. Even if that was like a loser, like wasn't making its money production wise, it keeps everybody united in this synergy level that The Bachelor doesn't. And The Bachelor doesn't